Like I said, it's the power of the mind that we keep talking about. You know what I mean? Keep it negative or evil, whatever way you want to look at it. That then influences your reality around you.
Yeah, and in the meantime, somebody will say evil and somebody will say negative, and those two people want to fight because they
Yeah,
don't like the words they're using.
exactly. And words are spells. Basically, they've created the spoken language because it's a spell. And that's another video I've done. I seem to have done videos tying it really nicely. But the physical spells. And I was talking to on Brian showing different things. I'm dyslexic, so I see the spell differently. Does that mean that spell's not affecting me the same? Because when it's that manifestation. So if you are using the spells that we've been all used, everything is indoctrination. Look at the education system. It's not really changed since I was at school. It's still teaching the same type of things in class because that is part of the spell. You know what I mean? You only learn so much, and that to keep you indoctrinated. And that indoctrination is a spell. It's the veil, and that is like a fog, a mist over your mind, keeping you from seeing what reality actually is. You know what I mean? That's why they need the top ups of basic subliminal messaging through screens, influenced daily by the media. It's all tied in to keep that spell going because it's the veil. And because we see that light differently and we're out of that type of darkness, we're in another shade of light, the spell's not working as much, but we're still indoctrinated to a degree because certain people get triggered when you say certain things. Like you just said, you could get on really well with someone. You could say God instead of lowercase God, and they're like, oh, and they're really kicking off, like you just said, because they're still indoctrinated. That's why you've got to ask when you lose it for no reason. Why? That's what you've got to ask. Why am I losing it over a topic? I'm friends with this person and I'm losing it because they said that God wrong or they said evil instead of entities. Because you're still under the spell. Because we're still bombarded with it daily.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the label is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that. It's just find the common goal and it's to reveal the truth and against the them or they.
Do you see them or they or what? And what is that? And does that matter? Do we really need to know? You all right, buddy? Do we need to know what that is? That or are we supposed to be doing other things? You said school, and with the kids in school, and they're programmed to do certain things. And yeah, the first thing we see is the globe. And but a friend of mine on YouTube, and I'll give another plug to Jazz Sinclair. He started doing videos about maybe a month before I did, or maybe a few weeks, back in 16. And he came out with a video about a month ago that said, maybe a little longer, said, when you were in school, what were you always looking at? When you were a kid in school, what were you always looking at? Do you know? The clock?
Well, I was. Or the
Huh?
window. I was
Oh,
always
out
looking
the
at the
window.
window. I
Well,
was a
most kids.
common daydreamer.
Well, what I'm saying is everybody was, what time is it? Is it almost time to get out of here? They're always looking at the clock.
Yeah.
Um, I found that fascinating because not only have we been indoctrinated into the globe, we've been indoctrinating into believing there is time and that we have to age and that we get older. Um, physically, people have said to me, well, physically, it's going to get older. Everything decays. Yeah, but at what rate? Because I'm telling you, physically, if it's what we think it is, it doesn't have to age at all. I mean, okay, maybe at a rate because it's physical, but it's not. It's photoshopped because it has to be.
Oh, it's crazy. It's good. Yeah, I'm with you. You know what I mean? How you're thinking it's like time as we know it is a constraint. It's used to control us. It's a commodity, and they put a cost on it. So that's why you get paid hour, monthly, weekly. But it's your time, your actual time. They've
Right.
made it where you're always checking on it.
You just mentioned another thing that we're indoctrinated into. We are totally programmed into We need to work for money.
Yeah.
Oh my God! If we don't have money, we can't eat. Oh, well, yes, you can.
No, that's like, and that's how they really worked in the olden times. It was more a barter system, not really to do with money or anything. You know what I mean? And obviously these people got in charge and changed it to a monetary system, and then tied that in with time, and so you got all the thing. But what's strange is I mentioned it on Brian's show the other day, just because of the sort of comments. Are you choking there? Well, I can't give you the Heimlich from over here. Someone get him a doctor.
Well, you weren't supposed to tell them I was choking.
I don't know. It's like dying on her. Don't die.
Well, let's give some of the people. It wasn't a hit. I'm not choking from that. the what are they? Do these things? Skittles. That's a Mandela effect, right?
Yeah, some of the colours have changed on that. Yeah,
Some of the colors.
yeah, on Skittles.
Well, what do you do to the rainbow?
I know that's what's changed as well, isn't it?
That's the one I caught.
And I swear,
Did I say caught? Is it catch the rainbow? Taste the rainbow.
that's so trippy when you think about it. And that's why it confuses a lot of people, doesn't it? Or it just misremembering. You can't misremember everything, and people can't misremember on a global. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's why you're scared of saying certain things.
On a global.
But what I was mentioning before is I talked about it. I think you joined after it on Brian's show the other day. You know, you joined in the chat. I'm researching into Tartaria and all that type of thing, and people. I mean, I've found a map, but they're talking about the old maps. South was in the north, and north was in the south. And it only came in, like, I don't know if it's the 15th or 16th century or 17th. I can't remember. Even might be when the cardinal directions came into effect. They swapped it. So in essence, the northern hemisphere could be the southern hemisphere and vice versa. So
Everything's
that was
backwards and upside down. That's come up a few times with me. I mean, besides this scar originating over here.
It's weird. It's like something forgetting on the math level.
That did come up the other day because there's some inside joke online. I think it's on that guy Stabley's channel. Oh, it's on the A Dose of Reality channel. That I'm his pet dog or something. But if everything's backwards, I'm okay with that. But it would be lowercase.
I'm trying to find something to show you because obviously the Staveley we just mentioned then about is Tartaria and Mandela effect. Now, what's funny is on my first video I ever did on the Mandela effect, I'm trying to find it, you know, is that's basically one of the Tartaria flags, as you can see, and I'll get into why I'm talking about this. As you can see, anyone that's watching, that's a Tartaria flag, right? It's the griffin, right?
Okay.
Now, what did I talk about the MEs at the beginning? Anzu was the god who took the tablet. He wanted to control destiny. That is Anzu. Can you not see the striking resemblance to the flag?
Well, show me the other one because I really don't.
Both.
I mean, the animal, the creature could be the same.
You see?
Oh, okay. I could see.
And that's just what I got. And like I said, I found links then to Anzu and different things with Tartaria and things like that. That's how I went on it, and that was the first video I did on it. So if he stole the tablet and influenced what we know is time and the Mandela effect, he would then make himself ruler. So he's Tartaria, a Mandela effect in a way that he's changed history to make him the huge ruler, because Tartaria is not just the Tartars, it's now 12 kingdoms. It covers all the world. So if you're like a baddie villain in a film and you want to change history, You get whatever device that could change that reality, bringing yourself back to be supreme ruler. All these kingdoms of Tartaria had one thing in common. They all had the griffin as the flag.
Tartaria, after Samaria?
Well, no one really knows. But yeah, technically, yeah. When you look at the history, it comes after Tartaria. Comes after Samaria.
So Samaria, we got all these gods, lowercase. Know the secrets, help people. One of them figures some stuff out. Or he shifted himself into a timeline where he's the man.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're stuck in that shit?
It could be the case, yeah. Because he's controlling these MEs. It's just, like I said, it's just theory, speculation, talking between friends. That's what I'm doing. Some people, it resonates with them. Some people, whoa, it's a bit trippy. But, you know what I mean? You just got to look at the information that we have, that Tartaria came out of nowhere 6-7 months ago from just being Russian-based and, like, Turkish-based because they were nomads. Now you've got them everywhere. It covers
all over the world. I remember seeing that on Lone Eagle's channel. They were talking about a thing where they got all over the world. I'm pretty sure I shouted just about everybody but Sean Indigo. Excuse me.
So then now you look, I mean, and if you think about it, it was 12 kingdoms, right? And then
all over the world. Now this is all over the world.
All over the world, 12 kingdoms, and the 13th was America. And basically that fits into the so-called elites. You know what I mean? There's supposed to be 12, 13 families that rule, you know, what we know as our reality. And that's tiny.
Okay, and the 13th was the Americas.
Yeah.
And that's where the elite were?
Elite, you know the numbers, the elites, the Rothschilds, the all them names that we come across doing research.
They were part of the Tartarian race?
They could be, yeah, what's took over.
Dude, you did a little bit more research than I ever did.
Well, these.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I think that's amazing.
I've done so many videos on it, and it's a case of now is I believe these 13 families, 12 families were tied in with the Vatican and the Jesuits, and that is what's took. Basically, I don't know whether.
Yeah, I would absolutely suspect that.
Yeah. And that's just what I'm going on with mine because of the evidence. And that's why my research has then gone into Janice. I don't know if you've heard of Janice.
No, but I think I saw a video of yours named that.
Yeah, I've done a few on it, and this is who's behind it all, basically. Even the CERN, he's talking about all this transgender shit that's going on and changing forms. This is all linked to Janus Pythagoras Y. All of it's joined, and they're the last few videos I've done, and people have really enjoyed it and been wowed about it because I found the linked pictures. I mean, Janus was the god of gods to them. Right, his temple was under the Vatican. Right, so you got all this. The Vatican layout is a key. Janus is the god of doorways, so it's even laid out in a key. So this is the same thing, and you got all these links to this Janus, the two heads. Well, Janus is a recycled. It could be recycled of the first, but he's a recycle of Baal and Baphomet because he used to have 4 heads. And this is so tiny in my research lately that it's all pointing to him, and all the why. And this is why it's significant. And like, wow, the stuff that I'm finding the links. So all these people talk about you know, these triumphal arches, you know, like the huge arches that they have in like Paris, Germany, all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
They are built in honor of Janus because he's the gatekeeper. That's the first thing you will go through going into a city.
So it's a symbol. The whole gate thing is a symbol.
Yeah. And
there's energy and power behind that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we know from how things are, the symbology rules the world because that can then manifest in people's mind and gives it energy.
Paul, when I told you we were going to do this and figure out the answer, I didn't think we were going to get this close.
we do. We always, me, Brian, Gloria, and all that. Like I said, this is why I need to, get out on different channels. That's why I almost to come on yours, just so I can get a different perspective from hearing Brian. Brian does the same, and it's good. You need a different.
Oh yeah. Oh no, Brian's. I mean, look, Dan. Me and Dan were talking on the phone one time. That's me and Scar Performance were talking on the phone one time, and I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, but this person over here is fighting with this person, and they're YouTube people, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Because they're both talking about the same thing. They're talking about different things, and he's like, well, you got to let them figure it out or whatever. And I'm like, but I don't know why I'm worried about that so much. If they two figure out that they're arguing about the same damn thing, he's like, dude, you're a bridge builder. And then I thought, wow, I like that.
And that's why I just like to get myself out there more, Brian.
No, like the bridge builder to me now, I mean, I love the idea of being a bridge builder. I wrote the book. I tell people, look, I want the information out there. I don't really care. I didn't do it to make money. Other people are having stars come at them, or orbs tell them not to eat meat, or, characters come out of TV screens. I want them to know they're not the only one.
Definitely.
But Stavely, to me, he's a bridge builder, and I know he's so. I was going to break his balls there, and maybe I should. Maybe I better be cool. How far did you get into the Beatle thing with Paul?
To be honest, and like I said, I've not really looked into it. I know about how he's been replaced, like what you've gone into depth on, but like I said, it's not my specialty, even though it's like in my back door as such. I mean, I've never really looked into it.
There's definitely a connection there, and I don't like it. I started writing a documentary on how he was replaced in 2001, and I've been writing it ever since. The thing's 98,000 words long, ridiculous. But the negative aspects of it, the Aleister Crowley stuff, the connections, I really think it's there. I don't like it. It bothers me. I'm like, I hate taking the talent away from these guys, but what was there anyway? I mean, who couldn't have done close to what they have done? Now they were chosen for the right reasons, for sure. Because I really feel like, all right, let's get down to it. Buddy Holly was approached, and he denied them. All right, plane crash. Couple of Beatles were approached. One's replaced, and the other one says, "Shit, I'm out of here." Pete Best. So now Ringo jumps in. We got this band. So they're now okay. Now I did this show with Scar Performance, and I'm listening to these songs, and I was getting really into them. Listen, I'm listening to the first album. Some of the songs are so produced and so perfect. They were the ones given. These songs were given to them. I hate saying it, but that's just the way I see it. And it went through most of their career. They were given songs, and then it became one song or two songs or three songs. And they'd make the rest of them. George and John, to me, were very talented and created their own songs, but didn't just create their own songs. They realized what they were being given. Okay, they realized the clues and the information and the songs they were given, and they said, well, hey, we could do the same thing. So they decided to put out their own songs with clues and stuff on them. Well, what's going on? And it wasn't just about, hey, my buddy Paul was murdered and replaced. You guys in here? Yeah, they all better be in here. I mean, please. I just feel like a lot of their stuff was given to them. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, come here. Oh, you come here. And I kind of hate that, but I think John and George got smart. I think John, listen, I think John didn't just get smart. I think he went to the other side of the South Pole. I don't think he was murdered. I think that whole thing was fixed. I think he went to the other side of the South Pole and he's over there jamming with Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain. Or they had dinner with the Giants or whatever. I mean, that's just a theory. Is that what really happened? I don't know. But as far as Paul, yeah, there could be quite a few Pauls. On the icon that I put up on the last video, it's a Rolling Stone magazine cover, and I always said, well, if you put that on its side, it looks like he's in a coffin sleeping. Why is his eyes closed? Why are his hands crossed? I mean, come on. And I put it on its side and put it up there as an icon. And I'm like, there you go. That's exactly how I want that. If it was the other way, I mean, I would have put it that way anyway. I think right before the album New. Why are you calling an album New? I mean, come on. I mean, let's be as obvious as you can. What did you call it? Occam's razor? Is that how you pronounce it? He puts this album New out, and I'm listening to it, and I'm going, well, guess what? There's a couple, there's one or two really, we'll say, decent songs given, maybe three, but the other ones that he wrote as Jesse Spots, let me give him a shout, as a clone. I mean, yeah, right on. What he's writing from what his memories of clone. Do clones have memories? I'm thinking that's the easiest answer. Instead of running around looking for people like, hey, you want to be the next Paul McCartney? I mean, yeah. We'll take care of your family. They're going to think you're dead, but we're going to take care of you. Just like all the false flags that are out there. I think some of that crap goes on. One or two people, well, you're terminally ill. We could take care of your family for the rest of your life. All you got to do is go put some Kevlar on and run up and down the street here. We're going to shoot the shit out of you. I mean, is that part of it? Yeah, there's a lot that's a part of it. Everything's a part of it. All this stuff is connected. Definitely. That's why, my whole 98,000 word documentary that I don't know what I'm going to do with. There's parts of that when I wrote it, I was aware of these things going on, but that's not what the basis of my book was about. But I really felt like there needed to be something said about, John walking around with a pyramid on his shirt, or the all-seeing eye, or Paul constantly giving the finger, or, walking around like this. Oh no. Am I in trouble? Did I just, I think I just made that video good. This whole video good by putting up that symbol. I think we're good. We are good to go. I don't think this thing can ever get striked off because I shoved that symbol up on the screen. It didn't mean anything to me. I didn't put any energy into that. But Paul, John, there's pictures with them putting those symbols up. I'm pretty sure they were told to do that. Look, we gave you this, come on. We need to see that. For what, because there's energy behind those symbols. And I don't think it's a matter of positive or negative. I think it's what you put into it. I think there's a whole, these symbols are symbols. Okay. They come from the absolute of the absolute. That's what the symbols came from. Right? So it's a symbol. What energy do you put behind that? That's what's going to come out of that. Paul, John, they were. I never seen George or Ringo do it. Although I may have seen George with a shirt on, but I'm convinced they had to be. They had to. That's what they were told to do. But Paul, yeah, I think there were quite a few of them. I pinned it down to the original Paul McCartney was replaced. I'll leave it at that for now. Right before the first album was released, and I don't know anybody else who's saying that, and I don't expect anybody else to say that. There's stuff in my book that point to that, and I bring it all up, and I span it all out. Makes perfect sense to me. The second Paul would be the lookalike, who was going to be turned into a Beatle by basically jumping up on stage, sounding like him as best he could on stage, and George taking care of a lot of the bass lines, because most of it was live, and these people were screaming at the top of their lungs, and I'm sure that was planned, put in. Let's get them to scream. We don't want them to hear what's going on stage. Then we got we'll say Rubber Soul Revolver. What's right before Rubber Soul? Beatles for Sale, man. Rubber Soul Revolver area. That could have been another Paul, but I'm not sure. It might have been the lookalike actually getting into it. The next one would have been definitely Sergeant Pepper. And I'm quite sure, if this is all true, and this is actually factual. I am freezing, and the door is open. That's why I'm freezing. The Paul, this one right here. That was the Wings Paul, and he was Let It Be, Abbey Road, and then Wings. And I'll say after Get Off the Ground, I think around Get Off the Ground would have been another Paul. And I think this whole one with him on the Rolling Stone magazine cover.
What album? What album was where they were on with all the meat bones and different things?
That wasn't I guess they're not calling that an actual album. They call that the Butcher's album. That was right around Revolver. They changed the album cover a few times. Gonna make me look this up. Somebody else was Scarab kept questioning me on stuff, and I'm like, man, I've been writing so much about this. Damn, I don't. Yeah, that was Rubber Soul, right? Yeah, I'm gonna say that was Rubber Soul, and they changed it. There was another one that was it's called Today and Yesterday, and Paul was in a box sitting up, and everybody else was off to behind the box or on the side of the box, and Paul was in the box. And I'm like, if you turn it on its side, he's in a coffin. That was the replacement to the Butcher cover. But you're right, as far as it actually being one of the albums that they make official, I'd say Rubber Soul.
Can I ask you? I've not looked into it, but have you found anything to do with Michael Jackson? Because didn't he buy the rights to all the music?
Yeah, I found that whole thing very strange. Michael Jackson. Am I going to info or the book? Should I go into the book? It's going to be too long. Info. Them two got together, and that was funny because to me, these guys are hanging out, they're talking, they're kind of friends. Whatever the media is telling you is not going on. And Michael was saying, well, what should I do with all my money? That's the story that I heard. What should I do with all my money? And Paul said, well, you should invest in music and buy copyrighted buy music, buy people's music, or buy copyright music or whatever. And he went and bought, I believe, half of the Beatles stuff, and Sony bought the other half. When Michael Jackson died, I believe Sony got it all. I'm not positive about that.
That's just what I wanted to ask. You know what I mean? killed or whatever, fake death to get the music. You know what I mean?
Oh, please. No, Michael Jackson's over there with John Lennon. He's Michael. Well, Michael Jackson, he didn't die at 27. He waited till he was 51. Is that right? Yeah, I don't think he actually died. I think if anything, honestly, I think Michael Jackson probably had his death faked and is probably still around doing something here physically. I don't think he even went to the other side of the South Pole. That whole thing with the copyrighted music, though. There was so much inside stuff between Sony, Michael Jackson, and McCartney that there was something else going on nobody's ever going to know about.
Just intrigued me that, you know what I mean? While he owns so much of the Beatles stuff. And I mean, like I said, I've not really looked into it, but I do know about obviously that link that we're just talking about then.
I also think there's a lot to the all right, first off, when you listen to a commercial, if you're watching TV now, the only time it happens for me is when I'm down at the bar. But I've heard Beatles songs come out of the TV, and it just, I'm like, wow. All right, Sony sold out, no big deal. What do they got to sell out for? Please, how much more money do they need to make? The whole, you can't get on a jukebox and find a Beatles song. I mean, you can find a Beatles song, you can find plenty of songs done by other people that are Beatles songs, but you can't find the Beatles doing Beatles songs on AMI jukeboxes or touch-tone jukeboxes, and that's all we have in this modern day right now, right? There might be others, but you can't get them. Why is that music being suppressed? Why is I mean, it's only the Beatles. There's nobody else you could just I'm pretty sure anybody on these things, because they're online, they're connected online. If you don't have a song, you connect it online, it gives you the song, you pay an extra buck or whatever. But why can't you get the Beatles actually doing these songs? I mean, I can't believe it's because of Capitol Records, AMI Records, AMI's involved. I mean, they have the same initials. I'm guessing it's the same company. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. And then you got to go through all 4 estates. I mean, really?
Crazy.
Well, I'm thinking there's something in that. I'm thinking, that whole Beatle revolution thing. I mean, we know that was planted, as much as most of us want to deny it. That whole thing was, they were totally played, and I could sit here and tell you George and John caught on. Well, they were probably told. They were, Ringo was in. He was like, yeah, his family was connected. I've caught on to that. So he's like, come on, let's just play. Who cares? I ain't saying he wasn't a decent drummer.
Does the Mandela effect hit the Beatles much? Obviously, I know about the Imagine with John Lennon not in a white suit, but
oh, that's an amazing one for me. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that's a total, absolute 100% for me. The Imagine, as far as the suit goes. Beatles on their own. Well, when I was talking to Dan, I started listening to the albums. But I shouldn't have done it the way I was doing. I was just listening straight through, man. And after a while, I started to realize they're all starting to sound exactly like the way they were for me before. I'm like, all right, maybe I need to take a break from them and just go. Because when I put the first album on that I've listened to many times, I had a whole list of things, mundane, small, tiny little things, except one song was sung by, it was John was singing it, and now George is singing it. And there's another song behind, in front of it, that I'm thinking might have been the other way as well. So I'm seeing Mandela effects on Please Please Me, the Beatles' first album, but nobody's going to see that stuff. I can't imagine anybody go, oh my God, it was George singing that song. Why is it Paul? Why is it John now? I was studying their voices. I was studying the Paul voices when I was writing this documentary. So, you know, I'm going through going, wow, these backups are different, you know, and I'm like, all right. And I write down backups different. I don't know how different. Could it be the speakers I'm using? Could it be the different, to me, I mean, this is online. I picked it up online. It was a disc that I had it wasn't online. It was a disc I had that I put onto my computer 3-4 computers ago that I keep transferring over in between shifts and solar flares and photon belts. So I don't know if it's the actual CD that I had from that timeline dimension or not. I mean, does that make any sense?
It makes sense in this day and age. Everything, like I said, I keep saying it's like the realm of magic and what's reality is changed. The veil's gone completely. Everything is merging, and it's hard to separate what we class as reality to what is the other realities at the minute.
And what's important? And what's important? Okay, are we supposed to be trying to get out?
Who knows? Are we supposed to get out? Are we supposed to delve deeper? Are we supposed to,
or are we supposed to delve deeper?
you know what I mean? Who knows? You know what I mean? That's the
Go ahead, talk, man.
you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it? Just what are we supposed to do? People will see it like we go back to perspective and your perception. People will perceive it as we're coming out of one reality into another. Some say we're getting tested. Some will say it's got a frequency from God. Some people say it's the devil's influence. So it's just everyone has a different perspective, and we just got to somehow find
because that's
where
the thing.
we agree on.
And I was going to go further with that. Are we supposed to get out? Are we supposed to be delving deeper? Are we? Am I supposed to be trying to actually live my physical reality? Because no matter every time I figure, you know what? Let's just accept everything and live physically and do what I'm supposed to do. When I imagine that, and I imagine the pentacle and the best that I can be, no matter what it is, it always comes down to, okay, now what? No matter how great it is, now what? When I concentrate on, I'm going to create my reality and make it fantastic. It always comes down to now what? And then I figure, okay, now I'm going to create spiritually, because that, to me, that's the next step. What is going to be the next step? It's creating spiritually. And what are we doing now to get to there? Smoking and drinking. You know, I mean, because I think that's part of it. And I don't think it's a big part of it, but I think it's a part of it that's keeping us from the big part of it.
Yeah, sometimes are we being kept from that on purpose? You just don't know, do you? Are we really meant to know everything? Who knows? You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's a strange thing, but like everyone's now people have got in general now. Sorry, people in general have got more confidence in coming out with their stories of what's happening to them. That's a good thing, because one time you used to just didn't want to say anything because you didn't want to feel ostracized or picked on or called a loony or idiot or
I always did. I didn't care. But see, back then it's so funny. They were right. You know, I was like, yeah, aliens are coming. more physical aliens are all over the place, and they're abducting us and everything else. And I was wrong, because if there's aliens, to me now, they're just from another dimension. I don't think there's I think this is the only physical plane. But that's right. You're right. But most people didn't want to. They really wanted to stay. So I don't know why. What made me so open? What made me run around going the Greys and the reptilians? And why was I talking about that stuff back then? I mean, why did I care?
Yeah.
I mean, was that just a prelude to get to here, to go, hey, you know what? Don't worry about what anybody's thinking about you. Don't worry about what anybody says about you. Who cares? You know what your truth is. That was my truth then. I was sure of it. I was sure everybody else was nuts and aliens were going to come, and peaceful aliens or negative aliens or whatever. It didn't matter. I wasn't always in the Hollywood with every alien has to be negative. That's where I was then. That's who I was then. And yeah, I mean, my family thinks I'm nuts now, although now they're going, maybe he's on to something because they're seeing changes.
Yeah.
They don't want to see them. Like for my mother, it's got to be hard. Oh my God, it's got to be so hard when she said, my last video, right in the middle of the video for like 10 seconds, I got her on the phone and I'm trying to pop it up here. So she's, talking on the phone, and she's telling me, she's going, yeah, I remember Ed McMahon on the Publishers Clearinghouse checks. And, but you say he never did it. So I guess he didn't. I mean, that's as far as she could get with it. You're saying he never did it? I guess you're right. You're saying we never went to the moon? Let's see what happens when I tell her that.
Oh, no, it's crazy, isn't it? How you get so blindsided by something that you don't tend to look at other things. That's why I always say, and I'm Brian always saying, yeah, look at everything because you find connections with everything. You know what I mean? Don't stay in your little bubble, because then you can get influenced to in a degree. You know what I mean? Open your eyes and take everything in, because everything's connected. And I was like you. I was into aliens, sci-fi, everything sci-fi. That's what I was brought up. You know what I mean? I was not a nerd as such, but I was just so brought up and believed in aliens and different things. And it's all labels. What we perceive as aliens now just could be what you've said, extra dimensional. Some aliens could be other land that we've never found around the border. You just don't know.
That's what I've
It's just
always.
labels that they want us to use. So as soon as you say aliens, you think of people in a UFO coming from outer space. So it's just the label that they use and we use to a degree that it can influence, like a symbol. So you know what I mean? As soon as you see UFO, it's a green man or a grey. You see, other things that's happened, all these disasters and things that you're not allowed to mention. You get strikes, like Brian talks about. It influences you, and it just clouds your mind, and people get stuck on it. Even us, we have times when we get falling, down the rabbit hole, and we don't get out for a little bit. And that's why you need people around you doing the truth and friends to actually pull you out of it. Because sometimes you can go deep onto a topic and just everything around you can just forget about, and it's so scary sometimes. But all the time it's so adrenaline, and you're so excited because you found something that no one else has looked at. So it's everything is a merry-go-round, and that's why I'm doing a show today as well to hear your perspective. It's similar what I was saying, wavelength, but on certain things I don't know, because I've not researched it, and that a different opinion can influence me. You know what I mean? You saying something about this and this could spark an idea for a video or something in me, and vice versa. So that is why it's good to mix ideas.
It's happened to me with the whole are we in a simulation theory? That I've kind of backed off on that. I can't totally, because it does explain everything. I never really believed it. I've always, and even if we're in a simulation, we're still spiritual beings. But are we spiritual beings? I've had out of body experiences. I've had a lucid dream, so I know there's something else, but I don't know what that is. Is that where I came from, or is that where I'm going? I don't know what I was before I was born. I don't know if I was before I was born. I mean, am I growing? Because if I'm growing, well, I don't want to go backwards, right? I want to go forward and grow. And that very well could be what all this is. Like you said way earlier, we could be being tested. Is that how you put it?
Yeah.
This could be a total schooling ground to learn how to not just create, but to create the proper way. And now what we're getting the Mandela effect. So it may be, we may have to bring that into it and go, we're not just learning how to create, we're learning how to create properly on a interdimensional level. Because, you know, in 2006, Danny and Brinkley told me he was experiencing 7 different dimensions at the same time. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about back then. Now I have a little bit more of an idea. You know, did he see Kit Kat with a dash, with a T, without a T, without a K, with a C? I mean, I'm 7 different. I'm just saying, did he see it 7 different ways? I don't think so. I think, you know, physically you're going to perceive that one reality, but I think it's possible that we perceive more than just the one. But I have no idea how that works. Are you reacting on both levels at the same time, and you know it and are aware of it? You know, I just think that that's, you know, I'm very hopeful that that's what it is. So we're growing, we're learning. We told ourselves to do this to ourselves so we could learn and grow. I mean, when I say ourselves, I mean the higher power, higher whatever. I can't see that. I don't see that. I feel it. Okay, and I know there's something there. Um, you know, I'm sure of that. You know, I'll go with the absolute of the absolute. I don't need liaisons.
Be a case
But
of like a spiritual terraforming. You know what I mean? Of you've been sent to a place to test your powers, your perceptions, your, you know, and to create, manifest things. You know what I mean? Once we create not a utopia or something, you then move on to the next stage. You know what I mean? So who knows? But like we know, reality, there's no big gap anymore. The veil, the thin line between reality and magic, it's
for
so thin,
us,
not even there.
for not for everybody, and I don't know why. I don't understand that. It's not for me to understand. But for us, for people like us, yeah, I can see that we're moving on. We're moving to the next grade, the next level, the next step. We may have already moved up.
But you just
Because
got to picture too, so you just got to picture there's the veil, there's me flat my hand. But when you start looking into the truth and look at it from a different perspective, just turn it that way, and the line's thinner. You know what I mean? So it's all perceptions and light and how that shines. So the veil to others just could be your flat of your hand, you know, that the wideness of your hand. And then when you start looking at it differently, you're just looking at it from a different angle, and that reveals more or reveals less. It's just so trippy in a way. But like I said, we're all here to learn in one fashion or not, good and bad, all experiences.
right, and with those light, okay, with us seeing in different vibrations with the light frequencies, are they things that we're pulling off ourselves, or are they things God is pulling off, or
It could, I don't know, it could be a bit of both. Is it like a test, or like we keep saying, oh, it could be the case of every now and again we get a helping hand
yeah,
to influence us in certain ways, good and bad. It would make
yeah.
sense
So
because that's
back
the
to
talk
my,
about, you know, devils and demons and different things, how
and
they
their
influence us.
influences, yeah, and they're doing it for their own agendas.
Yeah.
And back to my original thing, do we are we supposed to try and get out? I don't think it's a matter of trying to get out. I think it's a matter of trying to learn, go through it to learn, to grow. I mean, I know that sounds like, oh God, because, and then it's going to be a what then, which is fine. At that point, to me, it's going to be something so much more grander. But I don't want to go too far then, because I'm still here. Consciously, I'm still here right now. So what am I supposed to be doing now?
Yeah, that what you were saying, what if and what next? It's like a constant challenge where we find one truth, and then for some reason something else happens, and sometimes you can get lost in what if and what next because you're constantly looking at what things are changing. I mean, just look at history now. Like I said, I'm into ancient civilizations and different things, and it's all changing. You wake up the day after, and something else has been added, something's been took away. It's crazy. It's like that other wall in England. Everyone knows of Hadrian's Wall, and that's the furthest the Romans got. But there's another wall now called Antonine Wall that is so many miles away, and that was built across as well. And I never know. And I've been talking to people who are actually living on the site where it is, and they've never heard of it. Out of like thousands, there's about 2 or 3 people who remember this extra Roman wall. So how history is getting changed for good and bad, it's just so trippy. And like I said, sometimes you just got to go along with the ride. You know what
Well, I
I
was
mean?
going to say, you're reporting on some of this stuff. Has any of it changed while you were reporting on it? Because my book's changed for me, and I sit there and read it and go, well, I remember writing that, but I don't remember it being here in the book when I read it last time. And, and I'm like, well, whatever, because now I'm just too tired of it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Because there's 2, 3 stories that I know were in the book that aren't.
Yeah. Nothing's really changing the thing. But what got me is when I went to Hadrian's Wall and asked the people showing you around, I said, is this the furthest the Romans got to this standard? Yeah, this is what was known as the edge of the world, because that's the furthest they've got in buildings, like a huge wall. But it's not now, it's Antonine Wall. And it's just so crazy that only like out of thousands, I can put one hand up, and they're the only people who knew of it for more than 10 years and more 11 years. You know what I mean? Some people went there as a kid, but even watching films now, I'll watch a Roman film, and it'll not mention this Antonine Wall or what Hadrian's Wall. This is the bastion. This is the edge of the world because we didn't go any further. Well, it's not, because now you got the Antonine Wall.
So why wouldn't they have called that the edge of the world?
Exactly. So you know what I mean? It's crazy, and that's what's blown my mind. That's what really triggered everything for me from Mandela, because of me looking into Romans. I've had people comment on my video saying their mums, dads, they're like history majors, and they never even heard of the Antonine Wall. So you got in people who are in the education system that's never heard of this wall. So this is the kind of thing what people could see in a negative way. Oh my God, reality is changing. But I look at it as a positive. I look at it, oh yeah, I've got something else to learn today. You know what I mean? It is trippy because I've never heard of it, but it's a learning experience.
But it shouldn't be trippy. That's the thing. Yeah. When something like that happens, we should be like, oh, okay, and understand it. Why does it have to be a mystery? I mean, physical reality is totally different now, and I'd have to say 90% of the people don't know. They don't know that physical reality is not what they think it is. And then sometimes when I talk to them at the bar and I'll be chit-chatting, they don't even care. That's the part that bothers me. Well, not really.
I know what you mean. Some people don't want to see the truth, you know what I mean, because it scares them.
Yeah. Well, anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up? Because I'm going to end this shortly.
I think we've covered some stuff that I wasn't even going to mention because it tied into what you said. It's been really good. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on. Other than, I mean, I've only been on yours and Brian's, and
oh my God, thank you so much for coming on. I loved hearing your perspectives on everything. And the research you've done. I don't get around and watch everybody else's videos. The people reporting don't get out there and get to watch a lot of the videos. I do is when I can and do the best I can. I've seen a couple of yours, but nothing you've mentioned tonight. And I'm looking forward to that because I'm just cracking up that somebody did research far enough to actually find out that, hey, it's very possible that the Mandela effect existed back in Sumerian times. You're the only one I hear talking about that. I think that's amazing. I think that's a big deal.
I found that by as well too. So
you found what?
I found that about the Mandela effect being the Sumerian MEs by accident. On Brian's show, we was having a guest on Mike, and he wanted to talk about the pyramids and that. Well, I love Egypt and that, but I thought, well, I'll brush up, so I'll start looking into the pyramids. And what I found was like the original pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, you know, the big one, was actually built by the Sumerians. If you research,
I didn't know that. No.
well, if you look above it, I didn't know that the Great Pyramid had 8 sides. So it's not got 4 sides; it's got 8. There's a concave in the middle of each side, so it produces an 8-sided star. If it flattened out, now the 8-sided star is a Sumerian symbol for the god Inanna, right? And if you think about that, is what's Inanna of? She's a queen or the god of heaven and earth. Now, one of her symbols that she always has with her is a lion. Now, what is in front of the Great Pyramid but a sphinx, which it was, by all accounts, a lion.
Well, now it's a human face, but it was a lion.
Yeah.
I remember a lion's face.
So you have a lion, which is a symbol guarding the Great Pyramid, and it's 8-sided. It's the Inanna star. So that's when I started looking into it, the Sumerians a bit more, and came across Sumerian MEs. And then it just went, wow. It was a complete accident finding that, because I just wanted to brush up on my Egypt for a guest on this show, finding out that the Great Pyramid was built by the Sumerians as a temple, and it just blew from there, and that's how we found the Sumerian MEs.
Wow, that's well, still just the point that you've even found them or talking about them. I think that should be a bigger deal. I think we should understand what they knew about the MEs, assuming that it's the same thing, which does sound like it is. I mean, everything sounds like it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I think we should really kind of, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to look at and see what they understood about it. I mean, how far did you get? What did they understand about it? Did you get that far, or are you still looking into that?
Well, when we first started, there wasn't much on it. It was like a few pages, and what we're finding now is more and more things are coming up under it. Even the list of what these MEs covered. Some of them covered from like brushing your hair type of things. So they covered everything. You know what I mean? It was like what you had to do to fit into society. But basically, there are guidelines on
certain ways to brush your hair.
Yeah, it covered everything.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, I'm the same.
But I mean, yeah, but I mean, so like, okay, hypothetically, always brush your hair from the left to the right. Is that what you mean?
Everything. That's what basically they talk about everything. And what's so funny is some of these MEs, I think there was hundreds of them, but some of them are not labeled. They don't know what they control or what they are. They're missing, and it's just like other people doing the research, tying all things together. You know what I mean? So when you type in Sumerian MEs, you will see how it's our connection. It's the law basically between us and God, and that's what it is. And it talks about how it's geography, it's music, it's food, all the stuff that gets changed now.
Was getting changed then.
It changed.
Or they were saying, don't eat this, don't change that.
Yeah, don't change it. And it just seems to me, it screams Mandela effect. Even the name ME is Mandela effect. And that's what blew me away.
Okay. Oh, see, because now I'm taking it with my theory that individually you can shift in your own timeline and create whatever you want. So back then, were they trying to get them to not do that? By saying, just do it this way and that way and that way. This way, you're not shifting into other timelines, doing whatever you want. We get to have all this energy.
Yeah. And you just got to look at it. And like I said, once things open up. But all you got to do is type in Sumerian ME into your Google and then go from there. There's loads of stuff now.
Right, you know because Google's catching up.
Yeah. I mean, you read some of the stuff, it'll blow your mind. I mean,
so this is like a whole new Sumerian.
There's a site I've just showed you. There's talking about the Sumerian MEs, and basically they talk about things. And at the bottom it says, "For what else could any civilization worthy of a name ask?" Obviously, the Sumerian way is based on doing what is right and good, as opposed to what is allowed by law or society. So it could be a case of these were actually like spiritual laws, and if you break them, reality changes. It could be anything. It's how
I'm thinking okay, let's go further. These laws were to keep us in a certain dimension, timeline, reality.
Keep us, our physical vessels, basically hooked and grabbed to this reality, so we cannot ascend because we're not ready. It could be the case of that.
It could be ascend because we're not ready, because they won't let us ascend because they don't want us to leave too. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not saying me or any, whatever. I'm just saying, I was pretty sure a bunch of us chose to be here to figure this out. Because maybe we were bored.
Yeah. It could be the case with, there's always been someone who always wants more, the spiritual, they want to ascend to different things. We always want to do that more. You know what I mean? It could be like we want to explore, we're always curious. That could be the case of it as well.
Oh yeah, and that would be learning and growing. But I mean, to think that we came from God or everything, and we were just like, oh, let's check out physical reality. Just, especially with time not existing. Oh, there's no way. This was a plan. This was a plan. I got a cat outside. I'll lock you out. Get in here. Yeah, whatever. Sorry. You cold? Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Say hello. Say hello to all your friends. This is Prince. He is actually very sharp. Yeah, he's a Mandela effect to me. Don't even talk to me about that. He's a different cat from a different timeline. I mean, I know you probably don't know about this, but I lost him, and I called a psychic, and she told me where he was. Went and got him, and we were talking, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it was definitely a shift," and it just makes me. She got me. Yeah, you, buddy. To me, his consciousness is there, so it doesn't matter about the other cat. But go ahead, go where you go. Where were you going?
It's just because I've saying something then. These MEs could be a frequency, what binds, the spoken spell type of thing, because it just seems strange that it looks about. Although the ME in general are referred to frequently in hymns, prayers, and stories, few specific MEs are mentioned. We are told that there are between 7 and 3,600 MEs. These numbers are collective numbers symbolizing completeness and totality. MEs were obviously a fluid concept that could apply to any type of power above or below. Now, that ties into Pythagoras, and he studied the music of the spheres. He said, whatever happened up above happens down below. So you're talking about the duality and the joining. Whatever happened above happens down below. So if you want influence down here, could that influence upstairs? You know what I mean? It goes really, really deep. But it is good to something to look into if you're into the Mandela effect and wondering how far it's gone. And I've been screaming about this for so long. Check out Sumerian MEs, and it falls on deaf ears because I've not got as big following, or I'm not a famous YouTuber. People think, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? It's like that, but it is something to look into.
Are you kidding me? I think that's huge. It just sounds, I mean, especially if they had some information on that, but how much were they giving and why, and that we have that they were called that they're doing that.
Well,
I think it's saying a lot.
You're into music and different things. Back in the olden days, in the ancient times, they used to call people who needed inspiration, they needed a muse. They needed an influence, a muse, M-U-S-E, was a muse. You needed an influence. I reckon this is what they are. They can influence people in a way to create, music, because basically we know everything's a frequency. So is a music, it's a vibration. So all these muses could be an ME. There was one ME I know that was physical, and that was a giant called Mumbaba.
And he's an ME.
And he's an ME. It actually says he was made as an ME to protect what is known as the Sumerian Garden of Eden.
So now, ME in Sumerian terms, you don't mean Mandela effect.
No, they mean enemy. It was a power. It was, some of them are physical and some of them are spiritual. But he was a physical enemy made by the god to protect what is known as Lebanon, the Garden of Trees, which is a Sumerian Garden of Eden. Now, if you look now at the region, have you ever heard of Baalbek?
No.
Well, Baalbek in Lebanon is where all the giant stones are, the huge.
Okay.
And he was the guardian of that. And that is just what I found. I think another one, they even had weapons as MEs, you know what I mean? Because they contain the power of the gods. So it opens up another can of worms, and
So
it'll
are
lead
we
you.
saying, assuming that, see, I can't use any possible identification to the Mandela effect as we know it in those terms. Because I was going to say, hey, did they shift everybody into a timeline where this giant to protect this certain thing existed? That's not. Did they shift everybody into a timeline where Paul really exists and didn't die?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because that's come up. I'm like, because in 2015 when shit started to hit the fan for me, I stopped writing the Paul is Dead book. I was like, why? They just put everybody in another timeline, or they pulled him from another timeline, which is I wondered that. I'm like, can that be done? Is that what they did with this giant? Did they bring this guardian from another timeline, shift him in here? Is that what they're calling MEs? Bringing timelines together or interacting with different timelines? They had this power. They had this knowledge. Why did I put myself here? What's my goal? You know, I kind of I'm tired of worrying. I'm not even tired of worrying about the bills anymore. I don't worry about them. I pay them and I bless them and send them on their way. I don't even care. Money's not a thing. Bills aren't a thing. For me, I've done this. I simplified my life. Okay, I've done this, and it was planned. I didn't do it on purpose. It was planned. I have simplified my life in such a way that there is no worry. And there's no. I'm not saying I don't care to the point of despondent. Okay, love that because I never heard of despondent. Never knew what it was. Never under. Did you know about that despondent? The eighth deadly sin.
I've heard of it since, but I've not heard of that, saying it like that.
You've heard of the eighth deadly sin?
No, I've not heard of that. I've heard of the deadly sins, but I've not heard of what you're just mentioning.
Okay, there's 7 deadly sins is what it was known to me. And this eighth one popped up with Jazz Sinclair did a video and popped up, and I brought that up, and it cracks me up because every once in a while I get to this point where I won't care about something because I'm like, well, you know what? It's physical and I can change it or it'll change or it'll do something different, or you know what, maybe if I don't care about it, let it go, it'll change. And that seems to have happened because I don't get to the point of despondent. And when I say that, I mean just laying in bed, not caring, just eating chocolate and just being done with it. You know what? I'm just going to do this because this is the only thing that makes me. That's despondent. I mean, to me, it might not be despondent that somebody's actually doing that. Despondent might be something different for them. I don't know. It's giving up completely. And when I say let go and let things be and be, I don't mean despondent. But that's a point that I've gotten to with many things. Not to the despondent, but to the point of, you know what? I just can't deal with this anymore. I'm going to let it go. And it becomes part of my routine to, do you know, like 3 months ago, what were you doing with money? You personally, everybody in chat, everybody listening to this, Paul, Brian, Dan, Shane, D, everybody. What were you doing 3 months ago with money?
I'm
Whatever
like
it
you.
was, I don't mean for it. It's rhetorical. I don't mean for you to answer. Whatever it was, are you still doing that now? And whatever that was, does it really freaking matter? Because it's just a flow. It just constantly moves. You're going to have as much as you want. You're going to have as little as you need. Whatever. It's a flow. There's no worry there. It's always going to be there. I mean, and it's no. You get down to a penny, or you get down to minus. It don't matter. It's still there. Oh, it's that's why it's not a despondent. To me, I feel like, well, I've conquered that because it don't matter. It doesn't. It's always going to be there. It doesn't matter. And that's just an energy. And I'm trying. The energy I'm looking for is, why have I seen the things I've seen? Why have I experienced the things I've experienced? I want those answers. Okay. I want to bring them in. I want to feel those again, but it's not a matter of feeling them again. It was a matter of getting the answer the first time, or a warning shot or whatever it was. I'd say you'll enjoy the book, and I'll tell you what I've told Brian. And I'll tell everybody this: if you do happen to grab my book at 99 cents on Kindle, if you do happen to grab it, get just the first 3 or 4 chapters are me talking about the Mandela effect, what it might be, what it could be, and a little bit of my childhood. But you get to that 4th chapter, the impalement. I mean, that's when it takes off. Because everything's, not the things were changing before that. I just didn't notice them. Just go there, skip that. I want you to read it, Paul. Brian said he'll read it. I told him I'm not doing any interviews with him until he reads it. And I told him, skip the first 3 chapters. Because that's where, even the people that aren't into it, the first chapter grabs them. And then I draw it out. I don't mean to. That's what I wrote. And I don't necessarily repeat things, but I say things the same way in different perspectives. That bothered me, but I'm like, well, other people might have picked it up differently and figured things out differently that way, whatever. I have no idea. I only read the last 3 chapters once, for enjoyment purposes instead of not editing. I have no idea what those last 3 chapters even talk about. I mean, I probably have to go read it again. I've read the book, I do think, twice, but I can't remember because my memory is so faulty. Have I ever mentioned that?
I've not heard it.
Hmm?
I've not heard you say it before.
What, that my memory's faulty? That was a joke.
Hey, we don't even know what memory is, do we? So
Man, I could have woke up this morning, first time physical, and I've told people that, and they stare at me like, I said, yeah, everything else could be a memory. This could be the only time you're ever going to experience physical reality. And they're like, what? I'm like, it's the truth, because yesterday was a memory. It's all memories.
yeah.
And shit, my memories are changing. Paul, I am going to end this. I'd love to do this again, but we had a time trying to get this together as it was.
Yeah, it was so spur of the moment when it was like, yeah, we'll start something. And then yesterday, I don't know what made me. I just thought I'll message Suso, and then bang, we did it the morning after. Oh, it was just so crazy, like out of the blue. Yeah, let's get this on. Oh, well, I'm busy with work and different things, and
I think it ended up pretty good. I think we did a good job. I think we almost figured out the answer. I mean, just unbelievable. I think we almost figured it out. I do want to there's a couple of channels here I can't believe I didn't mention during the show. Armor Up. I did not mention Armor Up. Guy Fawkes, there's a shocker. And that's the only 2 that I think that I wanted to get out. Some other ODD. I got to mention ODD because I put cartoon ball on one of my videos. And I was like, wow, this is great. And a couple days later, I got, the old, hey, this is, copyright, whatever. It wasn't a strike or anything like that. It was like, if you make any money off of this, he's going to make money off it too. I'm like, look, if I make any money off of this, I give it to him. He can have it all. First off, it's a great song, and I'll buy it. And I should. I believe he's got an album out. It's mostly flat Earth songs. The one album does mention Mandela effect. I don't know that he's even affected, but he mentioned it, so I got to call. Hey, touche.
I'm just glad that you asked me on. You know what I mean? Like I said, I want to do more with different people to hear the different perspective. And you were the first one of the first ones that I've been on other than Brian. So
really?
Yeah. So I'm so happy. Like I said, I'm in my bubble. It's like I do Brian's shows and then rest of the time my head's deep in research, making videos, and I don't pop it out too much. You know what I mean? I'm always researching, doing my next video. And then I just thought, well, I need to get out a bit more here, some more perspective. It just keeps me grounded, you know what I mean? So now I'm starting mixing and talking to more people, and now obviously appearing on your channel.
Well, you're big in the States now, because my channel's huge, dude. No, I think that's awesome. And I think, and hopefully you will. I'll talk to a couple of my friends and try and get you out there, because I'm really impressed with the research you've done on the Mandela effect, and even coming across that stuff accidentally. That's huge. Okay, because for me anyway, I've said the Mandela effect's been around since the beginning of time. It's how we create time. It's how we create motion. At least that's how I feel. I don't know. I really don't. I feel like I'm going to know someday, but I don't know. And then when I do know, I'm going to have other questions. Right? But I think it's great what you did with that. I think that's a big topic and needs to be brought up more.
Yeah, it needs to be research mode as well, because it's ever changing. You know what I mean? It's just a minefield of information.
Yeah, it is. And the reading you do, I think, is awesome. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. And we definitely want to do this again. And let's let me real quick. You know what? Let's see. There's no new names on here. I already. Overprotected Bella came in the house. Hey, hon, how you doing? Who else? Let's see. It looks like all the same names. I appreciate you guys. We got Carla Red Pill, GoFundMe, the Rock Child. That Digital Intel's in the house. I didn't see him earlier. Splatter, I say hey to you. You know what? Of sorts. Minions. I don't know what that. Connoisseur of sorts. Data junkie, believe I said her. All right, looks like yep. Brian Stavely and Terry Martin. What do we got here? Thanks, Lost in Space. Appreciate that. Yeah, me and Paul did well together, and this was totally just off the hook. Just I texted him and said, "These are a couple. I want to talk about earthquakes," and like that never came up.
You know what it was? As soon as I mentioned the Sumerian Emmys, I could see your face just go.
Oh, dude, I don't think they could see my face. That I thought that was beautiful, because I'm just like, oh my God. And they're calling them MEs. That's why I'm like, how do you spell that? Is it EME or MA or however you said it was?
So there's some stuff you're still looking into. And like I said, I've been really enjoying it. Like I said, spur of the moment. It was a case of 8 hours ago, if that, so many hours ago, I just said, yeah, we'll do a show. And you was like, can you do it in the morning? And I'm like, well, I've got a few things on. Let me see if I can sort it. I sorted it. And then it's bang, we did it.
Well, everybody, yeah, we did. And everybody's going to miss you on Brian's channel, because you're going to be sleeping. Yeah, you got Mind Beyond Matter 10. That's what I've been doing. Anybody I get first, like when I first have them on, I'll call it Mind Beyond Matter. That's the name of my book. Mind Beyond Matter, the Mandela Effect. Get you on here. Any other time we get on, let's get you on a one-on-one chat, and we'll just chat for an hour or whatever and see what's going on. A month? I got to wait a month?
I think even Gloria wants to do something with you.
What's that?
Even Gloria wants to do a show with you.
Oh, does she? I'll have
Yeah.
her on in a heartbeat. Oh, that'd be great. I'm actually talking with and that reminds me, Michelle Wolf. I'm excited to have a show with her. And who else? There was somebody else as well. And I've been talking to a couple people, and I'd be happy to do shows with people. Yeah, I want to get Gloria on here. I think I'll connect with her big time. I really do.
Yeah.
And I got and because with I don't know about with Michelle, but with Gloria, I think I don't know. Does Gloria pull cards?
I think she has mentioned she has, but I don't know if who still does it or does it.
Okay.
I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I couldn't be sure on it.
All right. Well, that's something I'll have to bring up because I've noticed because I used to pull cards. I don't pull cards. I'm thinking, well, you know what? I should just turn my site into it. I'll just pull tarot cards and just go with that. I've noticed some of the cards changed, but the funny thing is I've only noticed it because I'll get online and I'll see what's going on for the day for Taurus or whatever, and they're like, wow, so look, here we have the such and such card, and wow, I didn't notice the sun was white. And I just gotta laugh, and I'm cracking up, and I'm like, I'm typing in, I'm like, it's live or whatever. I'm like, do you ever hear the Mandela effect? And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. What's that? They're all interested. Nobody's ever blown it off. And I've typed it to a couple of them. I said, look into this because 3 of your cards you were questioning. You're like, the one girl said, well, I never noticed all these owls in the background, and I'm like, how many times have you pulled that card? How long have you been doing this? I mean, hey, I'm talking about wolves, and oh, that wolf is smiling, and I've never noticed that before. And I'm like, yo, the Mandela effect, because it's got to be connected. So I've noticed they said the Fool card has changed. That's the one with the sun color has changed in the Fool card. Now I don't know offhand. I've been away from the cards for a while. I've had a few decks, and I don't know how deep I got into it, but they said, it's just funny when listening to them. We're like, well, I don't remember seeing that on that card. That's different. And I gotta laugh. But I think that'll be fun to have Gloria on the show and maybe Michelle. And who else I got? Oh, come on now. I got a bunch, but I know I want to get a bunch of sidekicks in before I get the actual big people. Like, oh, wow. Lone Eagle doesn't have a sidekick. I can't. Unless I can get one of his cats on. But yeah, let's see. What is it tonight? Where are we at? Are we Sunday? Tomorrow's Monday? Are we in Monday right now?
Yeah, we're in Monday.
Holy cow. I don't have to go back. Oh, wait, they gave me more hours, which is a good thing. Love to talk about that, maybe in my book someday. Wow, 4 a.m. Coming on 4 a.m., people. Out here in Mountain Time, which I'm going to bring up. Mountain Time, what is that? Wait, I'm sorry. What is Pacific Time?
You have so many times, don't you? You have Eastern.
No, for me, it was always Eastern Standard Time, Mountain Time. I'm sorry, Eastern Standard Time, Central Time, and Mountain Time. There was never a Pacific Time. And I know, like, everybody's gonna. It was only Suso time. That's what I'm going. Thanks, Lost in Space. Appreciate that. And it's funny because everybody west of me now is going to be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Look, I used to live in the East. I was on the East Coast, and it was always, it would say 8 p.m. Eastern, 10 Mountain, or no, 6 Mountain, or whatever it was, because I still get it backwards. It was always Eastern and Mountain. And I knew there was a central. I just knew it. I don't know why they always said eastern and mountain, but I've never heard anything about Pacific. But that's because I was on the East Coast. But then I was talking to somebody else who said, "What is this mountain time?" They never really understood mountain time. CST looks familiar, Carla Red Pill. So I would say yes, Central. I probably knew of Central, but on TV they would always say, 8 Eastern, such and such mountain. They wouldn't say Pacific. So, I always wondered about that. And I'm talking to a guy from England, so this is not a good conversation.
And we have GMT.
Sorry?
We have Greenwich Mean Time.
So, you're Greenwich.
Yeah.
Good to know. Because I look at that thing and I can't figure out where the hell I'm at when I look at those names. So, Greenwich is all right, good.
And that's like ground zero for time. Everything else from.
So, do you know what universal time is?
I think that's. I might be wrong. That could be space or whatever, or everything in general.
Yeah, we could talk about space.
I mean, like Greenwich Mean Time, where we are, and anywhere past us in the country, like France, they go an hour, 2 hours, and then it goes like that. And then behind us, it's the minus times all the way to the States. That's why you're so many hours behind in the fake time zones.
I was going to say, who's behind what? And did Germany always have a seaport for you?
I lived in Germany, and I don't remember having much of a coastline. It was, you know what I mean?
Here's the problem I'm having with that. I don't remember them ever having any kind of sea. I thought they were bordered by nothing but land. And
Yeah.
so what? How did they have subs? They're the one that invented the submarines, right? At least from what I was taught. God knows, I'm sure that's wrong. So,
do you want me to tell you when the first sub was actually used in a word like submarine?
wait,
13th
it
or
was
14th century.
China. It was China with the Great Wall. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
That was like, great. Well, 13th, 14th century, two brothers used a submarine. So you're talking like 700 years. Oh, something stupid like that.
What happened?
13th or 14th century. I can't remember the exact time. It's roughly about that period. Two brothers went underwater in a submarine for the first time in front of, I don't know if it was King Charlemagne or it was some Holy Roman Empire, and they went underwater. So that was all way back to the 13th, the 14th century. The first time, like submarine, someone being submersed in a vehicle.
Yeah, but for as far as modern submarines go, would you say that was Germany?
I believe you did. It was in Germany, but I swear I seen someone mention in like before then in the 1700s they had a submarine. 1800s, like in the federal, the Battle of Independence and things like that. I swear I heard someone saying that they had a submarine then, or the plans were built then to build them, and they never got. I mean, it's so weird because I say you don't even know where you are in history because you see so many things changing.
Where I'm at in this history? Are you kidding me? I'm trying to remember yesterday. Tomorrow? I'm trying to remember tomorrow.
That'd be hard. Probably have Stavelina.
Oh, you kidding me? Well, the point was, I just figured they always had to have a shoreline, but I never pictured it that way. I was never taught that. I'd never seen that, and now they have. And it makes sense. They have to have some kind of seaport if they're going to be running submarines. But anyway, I don't know. I wanted to end on earthquakes. Have you ever looked at Dutch Sense?
I've not known.
No, Dutch Sense. And the only reason I bring this up is because the guy called the last 3 earthquakes, as far as I'm concerned. Although I guess the first one wasn't really called. It was in Canada. And I say first 3. I got to ask you, have you felt anything?
No, not physically. No, I felt weird in certain times, like like a frequency change, but I've not felt any vibration.
Okay. because yeah, they're pinpointing a bunch of fives, a group of fives in your area. Might be south of you, so I'm not. So you might not feel anything like that. But you know, I'm watching this stuff and I'm going, wow, is this fear mongering? Well, no, because California just had a big earthquake and it was right after one in Canada, 6.1, I think in Canada, 6.2 down in Cal. And the guy says, okay, well, this is going to go east now, and we're going to get some in Oklahoma and Texas, and then it's going to go up to Ohio, and the energy from the earthquakes is going to spread out east, or it's going to stay and it's going to get locked in California. And this is what happens. Well, for me, an earthquake was an earthquake. You'd have an earthquake, you'd have a couple of aftershocks, and that'd be the end of it. This guy's saying you can track them and they happen all the way around the world, because don't say flat on his channel. It's not that I don't know what the guy believes, and I'm pretty sure he's pretty intelligent, so I'm sure he believes what he believes. But the only things he can use online are these balls. But he doesn't, just don't say it. It doesn't really matter, because what he talks about, he talks about it in layman's terms, and I love it because I understand it. And he's talking about how the energy that is pushing in and going. But wait, if they're controlling it, it doesn't matter. But it does, because if they're controlling it, they're pushing it out. Now, how do they stop it in California? Well, he just every once in a while he brings up volcanoes and what are those places where they're drilling into the ground and pushing water down there to bring up steam.
Oh, yeah, I know shale. I know, I mean for shale.
They're doing that stuff. Well, that's where these earthquakes are kind of the energy is moving in different spots because of that stuff. And he'll say Mother Nature, and then he'll say humans, and this and this, and he goes back and forth, and he doesn't harp on the human thing, but he mentions it. And I like that. But right now, as far as the last time I checked before I got on this show, what's going on right now is there have been and another earthquake in California, 6.2, I believe. I'm sorry, 7.1. It was 7.1, and he's saying, look, one of two things has to happen. You're going to have the pressure go to the plate. Okay. And if you want to understand what I'm talking about, listen to him, because it really made sense to me. And it's going to spread out and be smaller earthquakes, fives across the United States, all the way up into the Northeast. That's what we want. So everybody in the United States right now wants earthquakes across the United States, or there's going to be one bigger than a 7.1 in California. That's what he's saying. Everything he said to me made sense. Is it being done on purpose? Is it being manipulated? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's happening. So as of right now, he's saying in the next 4 days, there will be an earthquake bigger than 7.1 in California, or there will be fives shooting across the United States, which I guess fives aren't such a big deal. Am I still alive?
Yeah, you say.
All right.
Like every time we go to finish, we always start something.
Yeah, well, but you haven't felt any earthquakes or anything, because there's some fives that are traveling through your country apparently, and Russia is reporting none. Apparently, they're not being touched at all. But everywhere else in the world has had at least a 4 or 5 point earthquake. I say every else in the world. That's not true. But there is a line that he is showing. To understand what I'm talking about, you'd really have to listen to him. And they're messing with him. He'll be looking at the ley lines or the fracture lines on the screen, and live they just go blank, and he's like, well, that's never happened before. And so a lot of they're kind of messing with him too, and it's because he's saying stuff like, well, this reporter said that everything's fine, yet a 6.1 just hit, and it's going to get worse if this doesn't happen. And they're not saying that. They're saying, don't worry about a thing. And they're hiding earthquakes. According to him, they are hiding earthquakes. To me, is it a big deal? All he says is be prepared. He's not saying, he says, don't move out, don't leave, just be prepared. Physically, if you're on that timeline where your consciousness resides in the timeline where you need to go through that stuff, that's where I'm at. That's what I say. I say, that's what you got to deal with it. To me, you ain't going to die. Okay. It's your dominant consciousness is going to flow with where you're going to have to experience physical reality to learn whatever you have to learn. You may die for other people in their dimension timeline or whatever, but you personally, you're going to experience whatever you got to experience. That's why it's hard for me. I look at these earthquakes and this shit sometimes excites me. And I'm like, well, that's fear mongering, man. I don't like that. I'm not trying to spread fear. I'm saying be prepared. I think most of the people watching here probably might not even be aware that there's been 2 major earthquakes in California. I'd be shocked, but most people here probably don't watch TV. So it's not affecting them at all. So they're not even in that dimension, that timeline, that reality. To me, it's not going to happen, or it already did, or whatever. And it's all coming together. And eventually the people that it is happening with and isn't happening with, it'll come together to where, oh, it happened. Let's deal with now. Let's deal with
just before we go, I had a strange study on what are earthquakes and why is it getting worse. And it was a case of, as we know, I've said it on Brian's and different things, the earth is alive. So just picture it as not a bone. What I mean? If you think about it, the oil that we're siphoning off from out the earth could be the fluid that it lubricates the crusts. You know what I mean? So it keeps it flowing nicely. But if you're taking more out and then the body can reproduce or the earth can reproduce again, you'll then get friction. And obviously, plate on plate then would cause an earthquake or tremors. So if they're taking too much of the oil out, which in my opinion is there to lubricate these, these plates, that's why you're getting more and more earthquakes, more and more randomly. That was just what my get go on it.
Oh well, that sounded very scientific.
That was my one scientific point of the evening or the morning or whatever it is.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pop this link into the chat as I can find it. Where are we? Here we are.
Well, I would say I'd like to obviously thank me for having on, and anyone in the chat that I've talked to, it's new. Thanks for putting up with me on the Suito's channel.
Oh God, please! Oh, that was awesome. No, just you're coming on again. I'll have you on again. We'll figure something out again. We'll do it improv like we did. I'm sure it'll be cool. Good night, everybody. Thanks for Jem. I am Pedal Duck showed up. Thanks for showing up. Ganna Ball, I believe I shouted you. The Black Sheep researcher. Who's that? We got Matt Pyman, Lost in Space, Splatter, Overprotected, Bella. Guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for checking out the show. Like I said, I plan on doing these Mind Beyond Matter. The first time I get somebody, it's just going to be whatever. Hey, how you doing? What are you into? That's what I call it. That's the name of my book. Very interesting things happen to me, and we'll see what's going on. Thanks, Dominic Frosty in the hizzy. Thank you, sir. Paul's channel. Somebody. Thank you, Carla. Put Paul's channel up. He's got some incredible information. I think it's important. Listen to his stuff. He's got the Sumerians talking about MEs. Look into that stuff. It'll click. It might not click for me. I'm looking into it. I love it. But something might come up for you. So look into that stuff. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great night.